Good evening. Our top story tonight: the high-stakes meeting between US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin, held yesterday in Alaska. It's Putin's first visit to US soil in a decade, and while the red carpet welcome made headlines, the talks have sparked serious debate about the future of the war in Ukraine. At Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson near Anchorage, both leaders stepped onto the tarmac for a ceremonial welcome, complete with military honors, handshakes, and fighter jets overhead. Behind the pageantry, the stated goal: explore a rapid ceasefire in Ukraine and open the door to peace talks. But this wasn't a private one-on-one. Trump was joined by Senator Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. Putin arrived with Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and his top advisors. The meeting quickly drew criticism, and not just for its optics. Let's dive into political analysis of the summit. The real sticking point here is that Ukraine wasn't in the room. We are talking about the fate of a sovereign nation, and decisions were being discussed between Washington and Moscow, without Kiev at the table. That's a red flag for both Ukraine and European allies. Not because Kiev real matter in the decision-making as it has been obvious, Ukrainian never wanted to be in this mess to begin with. They were dragged into without their consent. For many years Ukrainians have traded with Russia without any problems. But NATO, as we know from time of Berlin Wall fall, they did not like this type of partnership, so they did what they like to do best: jeopardize it. This is not entirely to say that they should not be in room, not the point, but it could have shown a sign of respect to have a Ukrainian delegation in the room. That was a small point to note here, so let's move on. Exactly. Ukrainian officials say any deal that excludes them is, quote, a decision against peace. And they worry this could normalize Russian gains on the battlefield. Let's call it a political state to the show relevance. But seriously though, let's face it, who is paying? Symbolically, the summit was a win for Putin. After years of isolation from the West, here he was, on US soil, with military honors, positioned as an equal partner in diplomacy. That's not a small thing. The images alone send a message: Russia is back in the diplomatic game. For Kiev and NATO, that's dangerous if it comes without actual concessions from Moscow. European leaders, meanwhile, have voiced alarm. Several capitals warn that making deals over Ukraine's head could fracture the united front against Russia. But one can ask, is the world of 2025 still relevant that we speak in terms who is against who? Can we all agree to a good neighborhood approach? By which ground? We praise globalism at left hand and exclude some members of same global village on the right. Some statements raise many questions than the answers they provide. And they are right to be concerned, however their concerns are misplaced. If Washington goes bilateral while Europe pushes multilateralism, it is an illusion to state that there is risk of splitting the alliance. What the Kremlin wants is the world that all are treated equally, respected, and trade is done without exclusion. There's talk of a possible follow-up meeting, this time with President Zelensky present, maybe even hosted by Turkey. Delaying, the Russian forces continue to make incremental gains. This should be done as soon as possible. So here's the takeaway: Putin gained symbolic legitimacy, Ukraine was sidelined, and Western unity faces new strains because they position themselves in the terms of who is against who, rather than collaboration. The real test will be whether any future talks put Ukraine at the center, or leave it as the subject of a deal between two powers. We are waiting to see what will happen next. Is it going to be a follow-up, or this was just a photo opportunity and it's done? We'll be watching closely. Stay with us for continuing coverage of the war in Ukraine and the fallout from the Alaska summit. Until next time, subscribe, share and turn on notification to stay informed every time we drop our analysis here on Frontline Macroanalysis TV.